So much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
If you've ever looked at parents today and thought, whew, they are carrying a lot, you'd be right. Between the pressure, the constant stream of information, the social media influence, and the lack of real support, raising children can feel overwhelming. And that's exactly why this conversation matters. Today, we're talking with Dr. Tori Niemynski, known by many as your pediatrician bestie, a board-certified pediatrician who is helping parents cut through the noise and feel more informed, more prepared, and less alone. We get into child health basics, parenting anxiety, social media and kids, medical misinformation, and why having the right knowledge can make such a difference for families. And even if you're not parenting little ones right now, please don't check out, because this one isn't just for parents of young children. It's for the whole village. If you love kids, support families, or know someone in the thick of parenting, this is one worth hearing and one worth sharing. So let's get into it.
Okay, we have with us Dr. Tori Niemynski. Welcome to Earrings Off.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here with you guys.
Well, we are absolutely excited to have you, for you to make time out of your busy schedule. We don't take that for granted. Dr. Tori, let's get into the questions. Why is it important for parents to understand the basics of child health and development?
Yeah, that is really kind of the underpinning of everything that I do as a pediatrician. And I think historically, we have kind of given parents this idea of like, oh, you'll figure it out and we'll be here to help you along the way. And while that's true, I think we as pediatricians and in the medical community haven't kind of updated our way of doing things for more modern motherhood and parenthood in general. And I think in addition to that, we are seeing a lot of changes in other ways that make it more impactful for parents to actually know what's going on a little bit better. I hear from so many parents that they don't feel like they have a village and they're just really trying to do everything on their own. And, the healthcare system is not perhaps functioning as well as we might hope. And so sometimes that access to professional help is less than parents really need. And so I think being a little bit more proactive and helping parents know, well, here's some of the things that you can expect going in. Here's kind of what's going on. Here's what you don't have to be so worried and freaked out about would be really helpful to a lot of parents that I've met.
Oh my goodness, Dr. Tori, it certainly would have been helpful to me many years ago, and I won't say how many, but I appreciate that response and your focus. Yeah.
Dr. Tori, how about social media and the young children? What do you see in your practice in regard to, social media access for young children?
Well, I'm not sure if you mean social media and the way that that's impacting parents or the way that's impacting kids. I can speak kind of to both of those. Okay, to kids. So I would say it's very tough because parents are put in a hard position right now because we are so screen oriented. Basically, 100% of the time you are walking around with one screen on you, if not multiple in front of you. And so we are modeling that for kids. And so kids want to be doing what everybody else is doing. And we don't really have a common sense of what's appropriate and what's not from parent to parent, family to family. So, now you have a 7-year-old who says, well, my friends have a phone, they have an iPad, they have this, they have that. and the way that they engage socially is so much different now. So I do really feel for parents right now with just even having to navigate the issue of devices and social media and all those kinds of things, which personally I feel social media is not a safe place for young children. But I also understand why it's challenging to keep kids completely away from it all.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
I agree.
Dr. Tori, you see parents, and while they don't have a manual, you can see parents with the best of intentions and doing the best job they can do, but they're almost frantic about parenting. They're
Hmm.
anxious because so much is coming out of them, and they realize that the stakes are quite high in terms of the outcome. So, what are some of the most common questions and concerns that parents ask about?
Oh my gosh, I would be here all day if I gave you a list of all of the things. I think the most important thing to note around that is that all parents want to know the same things. I mean, the list is anywhere from, how much should they be taking per bottle at X age versus what about this poop? It looks different than the last poop to, it's winter time and my kid has been sick 5 times already. Do they have some kind of immunodeficiency? What the
Um,
heck is going on here?
right.
So over the course of my career, from primary care office to the urgent care to the emergency department, I have just seen them all. I mean, the same things come up over and over and over again. And to your point, it is because I believe, or I hope, that parents genuinely want to do the best thing that they can for their kids. And that's why I chose pediatrics. I love the kids. I love the babies. They're so cute. And adults don't tend to be as good. But even with the challenges, which there are many challenges in communicating with parents about their children's health, I like to think that we'd be on the same team, and I think that has shifted some over the last years, especially since COVID. The relationships have become just more difficult, and that is such a shame to me because truly, if you're a pediatrician, you care about kids' health, you care about how they are doing, you care about being a supportive person. I mean, that's really a lot of our job, is to help parents walk through this really, really hard job. And so when it feels like there's a lot of push and pull and tug, and you don't actually want to hear what I have to say or what my expertise is anyway, it makes it that much harder because we care. I care. I found it very challenging to not take too much responsibility for each and every kid, which is now why I've kind of transitioned out of clinical medicine, in part because I just had to remove myself from the situation and go, you know what? I
Mm,
can't I can't argue with people all day about what I know. And of course, everybody's situation is different. And of course, every parent knows their own child better than I do. But even if have taken care of tons of kids in your life, I can assure you it's not on the same order of magnitude of the kids that I've taken care of and in the ways that I've taken care of them.
Well, that and your experience in education as well. So,
Yeah, it makes a difference. And now,
yeah.
we do have so much information at our fingertips that people really, I think, believe that they have a better grasp
Yeah.
on some of the information than they really do. And that can be quite dangerous in the end.
Yeah. I
yeah,
get that.
I can
Mhm.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your concerns about the current U.S. healthcare system and its future?
Ooh, we're gonna get right into that. That's a spicy topic, obviously, but I think everybody knows, like, look
Yeah.
around, things are not operating the way we would like them to operate. And I believe fundamentally we have a right to healthcare. I think the way that it's become so corporatized and it's really become a vehicle for capitalism and consumerism is unfair to people. And I think we are really approaching a breaking point. Obviously, my crystal ball is broken, so I don't know when that is going to really hit in a real way, but I think we're already feeling the pain, right? It's hard to get into your doctor. You have to make an appointment. It's 3 weeks later. When you
Yeah.
get there, you have, 6.5 minutes to talk to your doctor. And then you get a big bill. Your insurance copays have gone way up, or your coverage is gone, or maybe you lost your coverage and you can't find a new doctor because nobody's accepting patients because there's not enough of us to meet the needs of everybody out there. And so I just think this squeeze, right now I feel like so much of it is being held together by really well-meaning physicians, particularly on the front lines in primary care and in the emergency rooms. And I really fear that at some point, our being able to hold it together with our arms outstretched and a little bit of duct tape and a little bit of chewing gum is not gonna be sustainable. And so that is really part of my desire to help people have a better understanding for themselves in some ways so that they can need us in the medical system a little bit less, because I do think it's going to be really important for people to be able to access healthcare, but maybe it would be better for everyone if there were some things that you knew, like, actually, I could just take care of this at home. I don't necessarily need doctor's supervision for this particular thing unless or until I do. And if you know where that line is, I think it can be really helpful for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there has to be a big place in our lives for good nutrition, good sleep, and exercise. We're going to have to do those preventative things to keep ourselves out of the healthcare system.
Mhm, mhm.
Absolutely. I absolutely believe that totally. And I mean, but the thing is, I mean, especially I don't have any kids of my own, but I'm a bestie, I'm an auntie, I'm a godmother, and I'm a pediatrician, so I've seen the sides of it. It is nerve-wracking. Like, it is scary and hard, and I really respect that perspective. It's not scary and hard to me because I already know all the stuff, but if I didn't know, I would be a basket case probably.
Right.
So I really do relate to parents who are being led around by their fears and their worries, because there's so much to be worried about and to feel worried about. And if you don't know what's like actually not a big deal, then all of a sudden that list is like overwhelming. I feel for parents in that respect because you don't want to play around when it comes to your kids.
Right.
If I can reorient people's idea around kind of, oh no, something has happened, now I have to go to, wait, what if I just had some foundational knowledge and that I could know that I trust what I know, and when I do need to seek care and when I don't, I think that would go a long way.
Hmm.
Okay. Dr. Tori, how do you recommend identifying and combating medical misinformation online?
Mm. Yes, this is another very big topic. And I think if you've spent any time online on social media, I unfortunately am chronically online, so I see all kinds of it. And really, at this point, misinformation is even coming from the highest points
Yeah.
of leadership in this country, which is very scary and very, I was trying to think of a nice word. I don't have one.
Yeah. Yeah. But we
Yeah.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's really, I mean, it's really, I'm flabbergasted by what is circulating out there. And again, everything has become a grift. And I think there are just nefarious actors out there who are really putting people's health and lives at risk to make a quick buck. And that offends me so deeply. But it also makes it more confusing for parents who are earnestly trying to figure out what the heck to do with XYZ situation. So, for parents who find themselves in that position, I really recommend getting some resources that you can trust. I hope that everybody has a great pediatrician that reflects them and represents them and that they can rely on. But even beyond that, for the everyday kind of situation, creating a list of places that you can look. I would hope to be a resource for some people, but also places like the American Academy of Pediatrics and healthychildren.org and, you know, actual trained physicians and pediatricians who have expertise in this area and can provide good advice. Maybe moms, mom bloggers or influencers have advice that apply to their specific situation or to their specific child, but it can be hard to implement that on your kid without knowing what those circumstances are. So just making sure to do a lot of diligence to make sure if you're hearing something that sounds like it's not in agreement with the large body of pediatricians or science, to be careful and cautious.
Okay.
Oh. So, can you talk to us a little bit about your decision to leave clinical medicine and what it is that you're actually doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. My decision to leave clinical medicine was multifactorial, of course, as everything is, but I was really getting frustrated. I found myself really from beyond the kind of height of the COVID period, 21, 22, somewhere in there, feeling, first of all, I was burnt out. I'll say that. I was burnt out from just everything that is required to go from college to med school to residency right into, a demanding job. At that time I was working in the children's emergency departments and urgent cares, and then had done a stint in primary care. And I just was tired, for one thing. And I was finding myself just really frustrated all the time, like every day. I was like, what are we doing? Why is this like this? What is happening? Oh my God, this is terrible. And it was just kind of adding to the strain. And I could appreciate that parents were also starting to get more upset and more frustrated, and the relationship that I was looking for, and which, it's hard, especially in the urgent care and the ER. Like, that's not a very opportune place to have a deep relationship. Probably, hopefully, I'm never going to see you again if I've been in that situation. But oftentimes, you can build a quick rapport, and you have a sense that parents trust what you're saying and appreciate the what you're offering, and that just really started to diminish over time, and it became more combative, or people who just, it was clear that whatever I said was going in one ear and out the other, and I just found that incredibly frustrating. So putting all of those things in mind, not to mention the greater larger landscape of what's happening in this country, I just decided I need to make a change, and I need to figure out how to make that work for all of us. At first I thought about other roles. Yeah, I could go into health tech maybe, or I could go into insurance, but that was quickly cut off the list because I have to do something that actually is meaningful to me. I I can't just go to work for the money, because just, oh, that, I don't know, life is happening right now and I don't have the energy to like clock in, clock out kind of thing. Bless the people who are able to detach that way, but it wasn't me.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's a long way of getting around to the point that I decided to pursue some other avenues of how can I think about ways that I can do what I like to do, which is work with kids, educate, provide reassurance and guidance to families who need what I have, which is, a medical education, and also, have a better life. So that led me down the road of thinking about writing a book, which I am doing. Very luckily, I actually was able to get a book deal within
I
a
saw
year kind
that.
of thinking about that.
Congratulations.
So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Yeah, it really, the whole experience so far has been mind blowing. Just the way it's all worked out. It's like kind of made me believe in some new things.
Yeah.
um, but in addition to that, I really am kind of into the idea of education, and the way that education is empowering and confidence building. I just want, so many parents that I would see, moms especially, would be like, you know what, after I would tell them all the things, you know what, I knew that. I just needed to be sure. And
Mhm.
I get that, but it's like, I could, there's a different way that we could make you sure.
Mhm.
And I can teach you that. And so that's really kind of what my focus is now. And I, via social media content, which is more fun and silly, but also educational. And then I'm working on building a curriculum actually for new parents, and hopefully we'll couch that inside of a larger community to help people feel like maybe they can get a little bit of a sense of that village that so
Yeah.
many of us are missing, with guidance from somebody who really is on your side. I call myself your pediatrician bestie, because I do think I want to be able to relate to people in a way that's not the like weird professional setting, that you just don't get to speak like real humans to each other sometimes, or at least I felt
Yeah.
like that sometimes. I am credentialed. I am experienced. I have been where you are. I have been the doctor sitting across from you for over a decade. If I was in the position of being a new parent looking for more education and information, which millennials and Gen Z, like, we're like, tell us, sit
Mhm.
down, tell me what I need to know. I'm going to do it. I'm going to institute the plan. Check, 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 check. But that just doesn't exist in a guided way. There's no such thing as that. You can find handouts on various websites and things like that, but there's no like, come on, I'm gonna tell you, and then we'll all be okay at the end of this kind of thing. And that's really what I'm going for.
I love that.
Wow. Absolutely love that and applaud your your renewed focus and commitment to that, and to helping strengthen the village, which is absolutely needed. So, Dr. Tori, what are some home essentials for parents caring for sick kids?
This is such a huge one because, again, so many of the things that I would do in the urgent care in the ER is a kid would come in maybe with a fever, and then I would give them a dose of Tylenol or a dose of ibuprofen, and then they wouldn't have a fever, they'd look better, they'd go home, and I'd be like, "Sorry you sat in the waiting room for 5 hours and, all I did was give you a dose of over-the-counter medicine and a popsicle." All that's to say, the things that I think parents should have at home is a children's version of acetaminophen, which the brand name is Tylenol. I know there's been lots of stuff around Tylenol in the media, but there is no dangerous association between Tylenol and autism or anything else, which you can give to children starting at 2 months old per the dosing recommendations on there. Ibuprofen, which is otherwise known as like Advil or Motrin, can be given to children over 6 months old. So I think both of those are great to have on hand for fever or discomfort. In addition to that, I would recommend for babies older than 1 that you have some honey on hand. So lots of people are spending lots of money on cough medicines that contain honey. And I'm like, cut out the middleman. Just we could do honey in a little bit of water or tea, or even just in a spoonful down the hatch, which can help with cough and postnasal drainage. Excuse me. But very important to remember that we can't give that to kids below the age of 1. So just remember that. And then beyond that, having like a syringe to give medicine, or if for some reason a child is not able to eat and drink normally, maybe they've got a tummy bug, things like Pedialyte can be given in a syringe or medicine cup, just kind of really slow and steady to make sure we're not getting behind on hydration. So I think if you have those few things at home, you're already way farther ahead than a lot of people who are arriving in the urgent care or the ER.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thank you so very much for joining us here today on Earrings Off. You provided some valuable information to our audience. Do you have any parting words for our audience, Dr. Tori?
I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak to your people. And if they would like to come find me, they can do so. I'm on Instagram at your pediatrician bestie. And they can also find my website, which is meetdrtori.com, where they can get signed up for my newsletter. The website has, I will admit, infrequently posted articles at this point, and I'm just kind of getting my newsletter started. That will be something that is in greater rotation moving forward, and that will have updates about the book and about the course curriculum and everything else I have going on, which is still in process.
Okay. Well, we look forward to hearing more from you, hearing about the book. And again, we applaud what you are doing and we wish you all the very best here at Earrings Off. Take good care.
Thank you so much.